My name is Helena Whitman. I am 32, and I spent most of my life being the wrong kind of daughter. 3 weeks ago, I sat in a glass conference room at Whitman & Cole LLP in Midtown Manhattan Tuesday morning, 10:03 a.m. My father had been dead for 6 days. Across the table sat my brother Daniel, 37, CEO of our family's private equity firm, wearing a suit that cost what I make in 2 months. He scrolled through his phone, barely acknowledging me. The family lawyer, Marcus Chen, opened a leather portfolio. "We will begin with the trust structure." Daniel nodded, already planning which furniture to move out of our father's corner office. Then Marcus read 7 words that stopped time. Helena Whitman is named controlling trustee. Daniel's thumb froze mid-scroll. For the first time in 15 years, my brother actually looked at me. Before I tell you what happened next, please like and subscribe if this story resonates. Drop a comment, where are you watching from? Ever been underestimated by family? Now, let me take you back to where this really started. I was 9 when I understood I was the wrong child. Our father, Richard Whitman, built Whitman Capital from nothing into a firm managing $2.3 billion in assets. He was precise, distant. The kind of man who measured love in performance metrics. Daniel joined the firm at 19. I was 14, taking art classes and writing terrible poetry. At dinner, father announced it like a coronation. "Daniel starts Monday as an analyst. He has got the temperament." Then he glanced at me, just once. "Helena's more creative." He said it like a diagnosis. Daniel didn't even smirk. He just knew he had already won. By 22, Daniel was VP. I graduated from Pratt with a design degree and a business plan for sustainable furniture. Showed it to father once. He flipped through it in under a minute. "Interesting." Closed the folder. Asked Daniel about his latest acquisition. "I built it anyway. Found investors. Rented a workshop in Red Hook." For 18 months, I worked like I was trying to prove something to a man who wasn't watching. Then our Vietnamese manufacturer went bankrupt. Main investor pulled out during lockdown. I was 26, sitting in an empty warehouse with $70,000 in debt. I called father. "I need help." My voice cracked. Long pause. "Come home. We will handle it." He cleared the debt. Never asked what I learned. Just absorbed the failure like it confirmed what he already knew. At dinner that week, Daniel raised his wine to Helena. "Welcome back to reality." Father said nothing. 7 years later, I was still living in a rent-stabilized Astoria studio. Freelance branding work. Quarterly family dinners where I said almost nothing. Daniel became CEO at 34. Tribeca Loft Range Rover. Instagram girlfriends. Conference talks about strategic risk optimization. Every dinner, he would update father on firm performance. Father would listen with that unreadable expression. I was furniture. The last dinner before father's stroke 8 weeks ago. Daniel was closing a $20 million Series B. "We are positioned for a 3x exit in 18 months. I have restructured the capital stack to Helena." Father interrupted. "What are you working on?" I blinked. He rarely asked. "Rebranding for a non-profit. Arts education in the Bronx." Daniel made a sound. Almost a laugh. "How charitable." Father's gaze shifted to Daniel. "Just a moment." I couldn't read it. "Continue your thought, Daniel." 3 days later, father had a stroke reviewing quarterly reports. Never woke up. 72 hours on life support. Then gone. Daniel handled everything. Hospital, funeral, board notifications. Moved through it with deal-closing efficiency. I held father's hand in the ICU and wondered if he would ever really seen me. At the funeral, 200 people told Daniel how much he resembled Richard, how he had carried the legacy. No one said anything to me. Morning of the will reading, Daniel texted, "Fake conference room, 10 a.m. Don't be late." Asterisk, I arrived early. He walked in at 9:58, phone pressed to his ear. He ended the call when he saw me. "This will not take long. Standard structure. You keep your shares. I take operational control. Clean." He said it like it was already done. like I was still wallpaper. We walked into that conference room together, and I believed him. I had no idea what father had actually planned. Here is what you need to understand. Whitman Capital wasn't just a company, it was father's life work. 38 years, building from a small fund to a diversified powerhouse. Medical devices, renewable energy, infrastructure. 2.3 billion in assets, 47 employees, 32 limited partner families who had trusted Richard Whitman for decades. If I said nothing, if I accepted Daniel's version, here is what would happen. He would consolidate control. Within 6 months, my equity would become non-voting shares. I would be pushed out. I had seen him do it to minority partners before. Quietly, legally, ruthlessly. But there was something else. Over the past 2 years, I had noticed something in the quarterly reports. Father still copied me on. The numbers looked good. Revenue strong. Portfolio performance excellent. But the allocation patterns had changed. Daniel was moving money, shifting from stable long-term holdings into higher-risk ventures. On paper, aggressive but strategic. The kind of thing business magazines call bold leadership. But I had built a startup. I knew what desperation looked like in a spreadsheet. Some ventures had unusual debt structures, guarantees tied to Daniel personally, off-balance sheet arrangements that weren't illegal, but felt too clever, like someone manufacturing short-term wins to justify a narrative. 6 months ago, I had asked father about it. Carefully. The Series C Daniel structured that guarantee seems exposed. Father studied me. You still read the reports. I am still a shareholder. He nodded slowly. Yes, you are. Then he changed the subject. But I caught something in his expression, almost like approval, that I was paying attention when everyone assumed I wasn't. Now father was gone. Daniel would take full control. Those allocations would continue unchecked. The firm would probably survive. Daniel was smart, capable. He would hit his numbers short term. But there is a difference between hitting numbers and building something that lasts. Father understood that. He played a 40-year game. Daniel was playing 4 quarters at a time. And what really made my chest ache wasn't the money. It was what would happen to me if I stayed silent. I would spend the rest of my life being the sister who didn't matter, the failed entrepreneur, the creative who couldn't handle the real world. I would show up to Daniel's wedding, his kids' birthdays, pleasant and invisible. I would become the story he told at dinner parties. My sister tried startups, didn't work out. She consults now. Nice girl. Just not built for this business. And every time, a small part of me would die. So when Marcus Chen opened that leather portfolio, I wasn't just listening as a shareholder. I was listening as someone who had spent 32 years trying to figure out if I was real. What came next changed everything. Marcus adjusted his reading glasses. Rain drummed the windows. Richard Whitman's estate consists primarily of his equity in Whitman Capital, valued at $420 million, plus real estate and investments totaling $80 million. Daniel took notes, controlled, confident. Business equity is structured as follows. 49% voting shares to Daniel Whitman, 2% non-voting to Helena Whitman. I felt the familiar punch expected. Daniel didn't react. He had expected it too. The remaining 49% is in the Whitman Family Trust. Daniel glanced up. Who are the trustees? Marcus looked at him. Then me. Helena Whitman, sole controlling trustee. The air pressure changed. Daniel's pen stopped. Say that again. Helena Whitman holds sole trusteeship over 49%. Full voting authority on all shareholder matters. I couldn't breathe. My knuckles were white, gripping the chair. Daniel leaned forward. And the terms? Marcus turned a page. The trust is irrevocable. Helena has sole discretion over all voting decisions, cannot be dissolved without her explicit consent. Silence. That is 51% control, Daniel said quietly. Correct. I watched my brother's face, still composed. But something shifted behind his eyes. Like a chess player realizing the board wasn't what he thought. There must be conditions, performance metrics. Marcus shook his head. The document is simple. Helena holds full voting authority. Major corporate decisions, executive appointments, compensation above 5 million partnerships, require her approval. Daniel turned to me. Actually seeing me for the first time in maybe a decade. Did you know? Number. My voice sounded strange. He studied me, then turned back to Marcus. There is more context. Yes. Marcus pulled out a second document. Richard left instructions to be read at this meeting. He cleared his throat. To my children, you each got what you reached for. Daniel, you wanted control. I gave you operational authority and 49% equity. You will continue as Kuo. Your authority remains unchanged. Subject to shareholder approval per our governance. Helena, you never asked for control. You built something on your own. It failed, but you built it honestly. You have worked quietly for 7 years, made no demands, expected nothing. But you read the quarterly reports when you thought no one noticed. Ask smart questions when you thought no one listened. I was listening. I am placing voting control with the one who doesn't want it. Not because you are better, Helena, because you understand that leadership is service, not hunger. You both have 6 months. The board will watch. I hope you do well. I hope you surprise each other. Dad. Marcus set it down. Daniel was completely still. Hands flat, breathing shallow. I felt the room tilt. Is there more? Daniel's voice was tight. Yes. Marcus pulled out a thicker folder. A compliance review Richard commissioned 6 months ago. He requested it be shared now. Daniel's jaw clenched. What kind? Internal audit. Capital allocation decisions over 24 months. The room went cold. I watched Daniel pale slightly, his fingers curled. That is privileged. Not anymore. Richard specified both majority shareholders receive full access. Marcus slid the folder toward me. Daniel stood abruptly. I need air. He walked to the windows, stood with his back to us, hands in pockets. I reached for the folder. My hands shook. The audit was 47 pages. I am not a finance expert, but I would run a startup. I knew what healthy capital structures looked like. This wasn't healthy. Key phrases jumped out, highlighted in yellow. Off-ledger liability, $23. 4M tied to personal guarantees. Capital reallocation from Tier 1 to speculative ventures without board approval. Signature authority bypassed on 4 transactions exceeding thresholds. I looked up. Daniel's shoulders were rigid at the window. Did you know about this audit? I asked quietly. He didn't turn. Father mentioned reviewing allocations. Did he tell you what he found? Long pause. Number. Marcus gathered his papers. Richard requested you both review independently before the board meeting. Next Tuesday, 9 a.m. a week, Daniel said. Still facing away, the board expects a presentation on leadership transition from both of you. Daniel turned. His face composed again, almost. But there was something new, uncertainty. Helena. My name careful in his mouth. We should talk. Before the meeting. Okay, my office. Tomorrow. 2 p.m. Not a request, but not dismissive either. He was negotiating. With me, Marcus left. Daniel and I sat in silence. Rain traffic below. You really didn't know, he said finally. Number. What are you going to do? First time in my life he had asked that like my answer mattered. I don't know yet. He nodded. Picked up his audit copy. Tomorrow. 2. Then he left. I sat alone for 20 minutes, reading and rereading, trying to understand what Father had done, and why. I didn't sleep. Saturday at my kitchen table with audit documents spread like puzzle pieces, made a spreadsheet, cross-referenced dates, followed the money. Over 24 months, Daniel had systematically shifted capital from stable holdings, medical devices, infrastructure, consumer brands into high-risk ventures. Biotech startups, crypto-adjacent fintech, a Miami luxury development already behind schedule. Nothing illegal. Daniel had authority under existing agreements, but several deals had unusual structures, personal guarantees. Daniel's signature on debt covenants, violating the firm's risk protocols. Side letters promising investors returns the underlying assets couldn't deliver. Someone was manufacturing extraordinary results. Fast. Morrison and Webb's summary was clinical but damning. While no securities violations identified, allocation pattern prioritizes short-term metrics over long-term stability. Transactions show concerning risk concentration. Recommend immediate governance review. I read it 7 times, then opened Father's letter again. One line caught me: you both have 6 months. 6 months. The audit was dated 6 months ago. Right after that dinner where I had asked about the biotech guarantee. Right after Father said, "You still read the reports." He had known. Known for 6 months. Daniel was taking dangerous risks. Commissioned the audit. Read the results? Then, nothing. No confrontation, no intervention. Instead, he restructured everything, gave me control, wrote about leadership and service, then had a stroke. This wasn't inheritance, it was a test for both of us. At 2 a.m., I opened the folder I kept in my closet, my startup documentation, business plans, financial projections, the final spreadsheet showing exactly how badly I had failed. Looked at the numbers with different eyes. I had lost 70,000, but I never lied about risks. Never hid exposure. When the manufacturer collapsed, I called every investor, personally explained, took responsibility. I failed honestly. Daniel was succeeding questionably. Father saw that difference. The question was, what did he want me to do about it? Next afternoon, I arrived at Whitman Capital at 155 42nd floor. Glass and steel, hadn't been there in 3 years. The receptionist didn't recognize me. "I have an appointment with Daniel Whitman." "Oh, Miss Whitman. He is expecting you." Daniel's office faced south, chrome desk, architectural models on glass shelves. Photo of him and Father at some conference. No photo of me, Helena. He stood, formal. "Thanks for coming." We sat. He had made coffee, poured 2 cups with precise movements. "I want to be direct. This trust structure is unexpected, but it doesn't have to be adversarial. I am not being adversarial." "Good." He opened a folder. "Here is what I am proposing. We formalize governance that preserves your voting control on paper. I maintain full operational authority. You keep shareholder status. I run the firm. We both get what we need." "What do I need?" He blinked. "Security, recognition, a seat at the table, and you, control." No hesitation. I sipped coffee. "What about the audit?" His expression hardened. "The audit is contextual. Every decision was within my authority. Returns speak for themselves. Returns are good. But risk profile changed. Risk and reward correlate. Like explaining to someone slow. So do risk and ruin." He set down his cup. "Helena, you have been out 7 years. Ran 1 failed startup. I have closed 43 deals, generated 280 million. I am not arrogant, I am factual. I know." He waited. "But Father didn't give you control," I said. "He gave it to me. There is a reason. He was dying. Wasn't thinking clearly. He commissioned that audit 6 months ago, very clearly." Daniel's jaw tightened. "Board meetings in 5 days. I am reviewing everything, all portfolio companies, all allocations, every deal from the past 2 years. You don't have expertise, then explain it to me. Calm. If deals are sound, walk me through them." He stared. "You are serious?" "Yes. And if I refuse, I exercise my voting authority at the board meeting. Restructure your operations until I understand what is happening." Very quiet. "You wouldn't?" "I don't want to, but I will." Something shifted in his face, anger and fear. "Fine. I will send documentation." "Thank you." I stood. He stayed seated. At the door, I paused. "Daniel, I am not taking anything from you. I am trying to understand what Father wanted us to learn. He wanted you to feel important. Bitter. Congratulations." I left without answering, because maybe he was right, or maybe Father wanted something harder. Over 4 days, Daniel sent everything. Deal memos, models, agreements, due diligence. Sometimes at 2 a.m., I read all of it. Then I did something else. I called the founders, CEOs of portfolio companies Daniel had invested in, entrepreneurs who had taken his money, introduced myself as a family shareholder doing routine review. Most were happy to talk, and I heard things that didn't match the memos. The biotech company lost its lead researcher 3 months ago. Fintech was burning cash twice as fast as projected. Miami development had title issues being quietly resolved, not catastrophic, but shakier than paperwork suggested. Daniel had built a portfolio that looked extraordinary on paper, but was held together with optimism and leverage. Might work if conditions stayed favorable. But if one deal broke, if investor confidence wavered, the structure could unravel fast. Father saw it 6 months ago. And instead of stopping it, he set up this test. Why? I found the answer in one of Daniel's late-night emails. Buried in a thread about the biotech deal was a note from Daniel to the CEO. We can extend the bridge round, but I need positive data by Q3. My position here depends on demonstrating momentum. My position here depends. Daniel wasn't just taking risks for the firm, he was taking them for himself, trying to prove he was worthy of Father's legacy, manufacturing wins to justify the role he had always been promised. The irony made my chest ache. He was so desperate to be what Father wanted that he had stopped seeing what Father actually valued. Tuesday morning arrived too fast. I arrived at 8:45, Navy theory suit, hair back, minimal jewelry. Daniel was already there. Father's seat at the head of the table. He glanced up. Helena, Daniel. Board members filtered in. 12 people, combined net worth over $2 billion. Serious people who had trusted Richard Whitman for decades. Margaret Ashford, senior limited partner, smiled. Helena, good to see you here. Thank you, Margaret. 9 a.m. Daniel called the meeting. Thank you all for coming. We are here to discuss leadership transition. I want to acknowledge the trust structure Richard put in place. Helena now controls 51% through the family trust. Smooth. Like a minor detail. However, operational leadership requires expertise and relationships. I have spent 15 years building this firm with our father, closed 43 transactions, generated $280 million. Our investors trust me. Transition should be seamless, he presented. Growth charts, portfolio performance, 3-year projections, impressive. Polished. Board members nodded. Helena will retain shareholder status and board participation. But operational decisions should remain with proven leadership. He sat, everyone turned to me. I stood. Heart pounding, hands steady. Thank you, Daniel. Your presentation is excellent. Numbers are strong. Pause. I would like to add context. Opened my laptop, my own presentation. 6 months ago, Father commissioned an independent audit of our capital allocation strategy. I will share key findings. Daniel went still. First slide. Morrison and Webb summary. Audit identified $23.4 million in off-ledger liability. Personal guarantees on ventures exceeding risk protocols. Margaret leaned forward. Personal guarantees, Daniel's signature. 4 separate portfolio companies. The room shifted. Next slide. 4 transactions exceeded governance thresholds, without board approval, moved capital from stable holdings to speculative ventures. Those ventures are performing, Daniel said. Voice tight. Currently. But 3 have concerning developments, not in your presentation, showed my research. Lost biotech researcher, fintech burn rate, Miami title issues. I spoke with each CEO, talented people, real businesses. But risk concentration is higher than historically accepted. Robert Chen spoke. Richard commissioned this. Yes, 6 months ago. Did he discuss it with you, Daniel? Daniel's jaw tight. He mentioned reviewing allocations, but didn't share results. I said quietly. Very quiet room. Daniel stood. Every decision was within authority. Returns exceptional. You are seeing shadows, I am seeing risk. Calm. Which Father taught us to manage. Margaret. What are you proposing, Helena? Deep breath. Here it was. I am proposing restructured oversight, I said. Daniel remains CEO with full operational authority over existing portfolio. but new capital allocations above 5 million require dual approval his recommendation. My sign-off as majority shareholder. That is untenable, Daniel said immediately. Creates delay, creates accountability, which the audit recommended. Turn to the board. I am also proposing we retain Morrison and Webb for quarterly compliance reviews, independent oversight, complete transparency. Robert Chen nodded. Reasonable. It is insulting, Daniel said, voice rising. Louder, less controlled. I have given 15 years, generated extraordinary returns. Now you are saying I cannot be trusted. I am saying no one should have unchecked authority quiet, including me. That is why I am proposing all my voting decisions be documented and board reviewed. That stopped him. You are constraining yourself? Margaret asked. Yes, leadership isn't power. It is stewardship. Father understood that. Final slide. Father's letter, key paragraph. Projected large. Leadership is service, not hunger. Silence. Daniel stared at the screen. Fists clenched. I move to accept Helena's proposal, Margaret said. Second, Robert added. All in favor. Every hand went up. Except Daniel's. Margaret looked at him. Daniel, you retain operational authority. Compensation unchanged. This is oversight, not diminishment. It is humiliation, he said quietly. No, I said. It is what Father set up, for both of us. He looked at me, really looked, and I saw something I had never seen. He looked lost. Motion carries, Margaret said gently. Thank you both. Meeting ended, people filed out. Several stopped to speak with me, support, acknowledgement. Daniel gathered materials in silence. When we were alone, he spoke. You think this makes you better? Number. Then what is the point? Voice raw. The point is Father gave us both a choice. You can keep building. I can keep learning. Or we fight over power neither of us needs. I need it. I worked for it, and you will keep working with it. Just not alone, he stared. Then left. I sat alone. Heart still pounding. I had just restructured my brother's authority in front of everyone he had spent 15 years trying to impress. I didn't feel victorious, I felt terrified, because now I had to actually do this. The firm moved fast, Margaret called that afternoon. Helena, that took courage. I am terrified. I made the wrong call. Good, means you are taking it seriously. Richard would appreciate that. She paused. I want to offer you a mentor, Dr. Patricia Morse. Former Blackstone CFO, independent consultant now. Would you be open? Yes. 2 days later, I met Patricia at a Gramercy cafe, 63. Elegant. Direct. Margaret says you inherited a complicated situation. That is one way to put it. What is another, I thought. I inherited the mess my father created trying to teach us something without saying what it was. Patricia smiled. Now we are getting somewhere. 2 hours. She walked me through the next 6 months. Learning curve. Board dynamics. Political navigation. You will make mistakes, accept that now. Comforting it should be. Perfectionism got your brother into this. You have different work. What work? Learning to lead without needing approval, including your father's posthumous judgment. That landed hard. Daniel avoided me 2 weeks. Then Thursday afternoon, he appeared at my apartment. Almost didn't recognize him. No suit, jeans and sweater, exhausted. Can I come in? Of course. Saturday at my kitchen table. I made coffee. He looked around, IKEA furniture, thrifted art design magazines. I forgot you lived like this. Like what? Like a normal person. Didn't know how to respond. Long silence. Then, I have been going through Father's files. Mother gave me access. Okay, I found something. Pulled out a leather journal. He kept notes. About us. About the firm years. Open to a marked page. This is from 2 years ago. After your startup. Read aloud. Helena came today asking for help with debt. Looked devastated, but met my eyes. Took responsibility. Didn't blame partners or manufacturer or pandemic. Just said she miscalculated and needed help. I cleared it. She thanked me and left. I should have said I was proud. Didn't. Never do. Tell myself I am teaching them not to need validation. Maybe I am just afraid of admitting I don't have answers either. Voice cracked on the last sentence. Closed the journal. 30 pages like that. Observations, doubts. Things never said. Did he write about you? Yeah, jaw tight. Proud of my results. Worried I only cared about results. Wrote that I would become what the industry wanted instead of who I was. Looked at me. He wrote you stayed yourself. Even when it cost everything. Tears pricked my eyes. I don't know how to do this, Helena. Don't know how to not be in control. I don't know how to be in control. He almost smiled. Maybe that is the point. Maybe. Saturday in silence. Coffee, in my tiny kitchen. Not resolution, but something. A crack in the wall between us. First time in 15 years, my brother looked at me like I was real. The next 6 months were brutal. Not because Daniel fought me, he didn't. But learning to run a private equity firm while managing family dynamics, and board politics, and understanding industries, I had never worked in harder than anything I had done. Patricia met with me every Tuesday, sometimes 2 hours, sometimes 15 minutes when I was drowning. You approved the healthcare infrastructure deal. Why? Fundamentals sound, management track record, proportional risk, the biometric wearables. You rejected that too speculative. Dependent on regulatory timelines we couldn't control. Daniel disagreed. Yes, how would you handle it? Explained my reasoning. Offered outside due diligence. He still disagreed. I held position. Patricia nodded. How would that feel? Terrible. Like proving I am difficult. You were proving you have judgment. There is a difference. First, quarterly review was tense. Daniel presented portfolio performance. Strong. Companies hitting milestones. Returns tracking ahead. Then Morrison and Webb presented compliance findings. Noted improvement in governance protocols. Capital allocations follow workflows. Risk documentation improved. Pause. However, 2 concerns. First, the biotech company Daniel guaranteed, personally, is 18 months behind FDA approval. Timeline risk increased substantially. Daniel's jaw tightened. Second, Miami real estate has ongoing title issues, risking litigation. Recommend legal review and position reduction. Margaret looked at me. Helena, recommendation? I had prepared. For biotech, I propose restructuring Daniel's personal guarantee. Remove individual exposure, convert to standard equity. Protects Daniel and the firm. Daniel looked surprised. For Miami, agree, we reduce position, but rather than divest entirely, negotiate revised terms with partners. Patricia helped me model scenarios. Presented 3 options. Board discussed. Voted option 2. Daniel quiet through most of it. After he found me in the hall. You didn't have to protect me on the biotech guarantee. Wasn't protecting you. Protecting the firm. Your liability is firm risk. He nodded slowly. Restructure terms are fair. I know. Studied me. You are getting good at this. First, real compliment in my adult life. I am learning, 3 months in. Crisis. Portfolio company sustainable packaging manufacturer faced hostile acquisition, CEO called Daniel panicking. Daniel brought it to me immediately, offering 20% above valuation, but slash and burn PE shop. They will gut it. Can we block? We only own 32%. Need other shareholders. Who are they? 2 impact funds. Founding family holds 25%. Looked at numbers. What if we buy the family's stake, convert to preferred equity with better terms? Downside protection, but keep them invested in mission. Daniel blinked. That is, actually smart. But we need board approval. Let's make the case. 2 days building presentation together. First collaboration since childhood board meeting. Daniel presented threat. I presented counter. Board approved, called the family. Daniel handled financial terms. I talked legacy and commitment to sustainable practices. They agreed. Hostile bid failed. CEO sent handwritten note. Thank you for seeing beyond numbers. Kept it on my desk. 4 months in, mother called. Hadn't spoken much since funeral. She had moved to Connecticut. Sold Manhattan apartment. Processing grief quietly. Helena. Can you both come for dinner this weekend? Of course. Saturday evening. Dining room where we had had 1,000 dinners. Table enormous with 3 of us. Mother served pot roast. Father's favorite. I have been reading his journals. All of them. 40 years, we waited. He loved you both so much, but didn't know how to say it. Thought if he showed approval, you would stop trying. Looked at me. Helena. He wrote pages about your startup. How brave. How you built something real knowing it might fail. Then Daniel. Daniel, proud of your deals. Your discipline. But afraid you were becoming someone you weren't performing for him, instead of discovering who you wanted to be. Daniel's eyes wet. The trust structure. He told me 3 weeks before the stroke. Said it was the hardest thing he had done. But believed you needed to figure out working together without him mediating. What did he hope would happen? I asked. He hoped you would surprise each other and yourselves. Long silence. Daniel spoke. I need to tell you both something. We waited. I have been seeing a therapist since the board meeting. Patricia recommended someone. I looked at him. Surprised. I have spent my life trying to be what I thought father wanted. Attached worth to deal performance. Titles. Control. When he gave the trust to Helena, I felt like I disappeared. Like everything I had done didn't matter. Shaky breath. But it is not about the trust. It is that I don't know who I am without external validation. Don't know what I want versus what I think I should want. Mother took his hand. I am working on it. Not fast. But trying. Something shifted in my chest. I am proud of you, I said quietly. For what? Being honest, harder than any deal you have closed. Month 5, firm stabilizing, returns strong but sustainable. Risk protocols working. Daniel and I developed rhythm. He would bring deals. I would ask questions. We would model together. Not perfect. Still disagreed. Sometimes significantly. But learned to disagree productively. Something strange happened. Board started deferring to our joint recommendations. Not because of titles, because combined analysis was genuinely stronger. Daniel saw market patterns I missed. I saw human dynamics and cultural risks he overlooked. Together, more than sum of parts. Patricia noticed first. You two are developing real partnership. Rare in family business. Still feels fragile. Good. Overconfidence got you here. 6 months after the will reading, board held formal review. Margaret led discussion. Portfolio strong. Risk management improved. Governance working. Morrison and Webb shows full compliance. Looked at us both. You have exceeded expectations. Question now is make current structure permanent, or revisit trust terms. Daniel and I had discussed this privately week before. We would like to propose something, I said. Brought up joint recommendation. We are requesting trust remain active. But proposing Daniel be added as co-trustee. Equal voting. All major decisions require both signatures. Room quiet. Margaret raised eyebrow, giving up sole control, formalizing what exists. We make better decisions together. She looked at Daniel, comfortable with shared authority, more than expected. Turns out, control isn't the same as security. Margaret smiled. Richard would appreciate that. Board voted unanimously. That night, Daniel texted, Faye drinks at Gramercy Tavern. My treat, Facier. Saturday at the bar. Old fashions, father's drink, to dad. Drank. Can I ask something? Of course. Think he knew. What would happen, thought about it. Think he knew what he hoped, but didn't control it. Just created conditions. If we had failed, fought, destroyed the firm, we would have learned something else. Maybe that is the actual inheritance. Not trust. Not firm. Just chance to figure out who we are when he is not watching. Daniel quiet. I don't know if I like who I have been. You are figuring out who you want to be. Harder. But better. Nodded slowly. finished drinks in comfortable silence. When we left, he hugged me. Quick, awkward, but real. Thanks for not destroying me. Thanks for not making me want to. He laughed. Actually laughed. First time in my life I felt like I had a brother. Not just sibling I was related to. Someone I actually knew, but we still had work to do today. I am in what used to be Father's office Tuesday morning. 8:47 a.m. City spreads below glass and ambition, and impossible stories moved in 3 months ago. Daniel offered it formally. Majority shareholder's office. Should be yours. I hesitated. Too big, too symbolic. But Patricia said something that changed my view. Your father didn't sit here because he needed the view. He sat here because someone had to make hard decisions and live with them. That is your job now. Office is just where you do it. So I moved in, kept most of father's furniture, changed a few things, added plants, hung one of my startup's prototypes reminder that failure isn't opposite of success. It is part of the process this morning. Reviewing a new deal Daniel brought climate tech company developing carbon capture. Science promising but early stage. Returns take 7 to 10 years. Old Whitman Capital would have passed, too slow, too uncertain. But this company could actually matter, make difference beyond shareholder returns. I have learned something in 9 months. Capital isn't just multiplication, it is allocation. Where you put resources determines what gets built, what gets tried, what becomes possible. That is power. Real power. Not controlling people. Directing possibility. Knock on my door. Come in. Daniel enters. 2 coffees, sets one on my desk. Quarterly reviews tomorrow. Wanted to go through numbers together. Thanks. 5 minutes. He nods. Starts to leave. Pauses. Can I ask something? Always. Do you ever resent him for making this complicated? I consider carefully, sometimes. But also, he gave us something most people never get. What? Second chance at being siblings. Without him defining our roles, Daniel sits across from me. We have done this 100 times, sat here, working through decisions. But this feels different. I used to think I needed to be him. Or better, built my whole identity around that. And now I think I just need to be useful to the firm, to people we invest in, to you when you need second opinion. Slight smile. Turns out that is enough, more than enough. I have been thinking about Father's letter, the line about leadership belonging to those who serve. Used to think that meant I was chosen because I didn't want power, but I am starting to understand something more complex. Not about not wanting power, about wanting something more than power. Impact, legacy, building things that outlast you. Daniel wanted control to prove himself. I got control because I wanted to do something with it. That is the difference Father saw. Maybe what he was trying to teach us both. This afternoon, meeting with carbon capture founders. Daniel will be there. We will ask hard questions, model risks, test assumptions, then decide together. Not because we always agree, we don't. But because we have learned to trust each other's judgment enough to disagree productively. That is what Father built. Not company structure, relationship architecture. If you are watching this and you have ever felt invisible in your family, ever wondered if you matter, ever been labeled by people who were supposed to see you clearly, you don't need permission to become who you are. You don't need validation to have value. Sometimes people who underestimate you give you the greatest gift, freedom to surprise them. And yourself. Father gave me control I never asked for. But what he really gave me was chance to discover I could carry it, that I was stronger than anyone, including me, realized. You are stronger than you know too. Question is, what will you do when you see it? Thank you for staying with me. If this resonated, please like and subscribe. Comment. Ever been underestimated by family? What happened? Check description for resources on family business dynamics and healthy boundaries. Until next time, lead quietly. Trust slowly. Remember that people who don't reach for power often know how to hold it. This is Helena Whitman. And this is how I learned inheritance isn't about what you are given. It is about what you do with it. We are still figuring that out, and that is okay.